didn't have any plans to even be at the Capitol building. I was going to go to the Ellipse, watch the speech. I had a VIP pass. I was literally right behind you. And what changed is that, as you said, and everyone can confirm this who was there, Trump said in the speech, we are going to go and peacefully make our voices heard outside the Capitol. And there was like a rumbling that you and Trump were going to lead the march, and you left early. And I said, oh, that's the program. I guess we're all going to the Capitol. And you're right. The phones weren't working. Anyone who's been to a baseball game or a concert knows how that goes. When you're in a high density area, the cell doesn't work. So we said, okay, I guess we're just going to the Capitol. So we walked to the Capitol. By the time I got there, the barricades surrounding the Capitol complex on the lawn had already been taken down. At that point, which had happened earlier in the day, the protesters had already gotten onto the lawn and were on the steps of the building. So I arrive at the Capitol, and I'm there with like a group of a half dozen people, fans of mine. We're taking pictures. We're hanging out. I don't think we ever got closer than 300 feet from the Capitol. We were on the lawn. And somebody came up to me and said, oh, you know, you got to give a speech. You got to give a speech, because this was the program. You and I had done this at all the state capitals. I was in Lansing, Atlanta, Harrisburg, Phoenix, D.C., and we gave speeches with megaphones at the governor's mansion, at the state capitol.
You climb up on the highest statue or object, and you speak to the crowd.
Right. We did it in D.C. We did it at Million MAGA. There's pictures, videos. So somebody said, oh, this is an historic day. You got to give a speech. I said, well, find me a megaphone. So somebody, some orbiter, you know, some fan of mine zips off, grabs a megaphone, brings it back. We look for the highest place. And that statue that you see me on there, that was Peace Circle. You could look at a map of the Capitol complex. It's 500 feet from the building. So, you know, and I think that's a big part of the missing context is people look at that video, they see the speech, and they imagine maybe I'm like guiding people into the building. I was 500 feet away from the building. And so when I'm saying, you know, take down the barricades, there were barricades on the lawn, which people were already on top of. There were barricades on the lawn in front of the Peace Circle, which that is what I was referring to. And I was saying, because the idea was, this is what the chatter on the ground was, we were going to protest on the lawn until they came back in session and gave Trump the election. The idea was this was like a protest. So when I said, you know, we're going to hold the Capitol, it was like, and this is how this stuff goes. People don't realize when you're in the heat of the moment and there's no plan like that, there's just like this chatter that goes on the ground, and you get these ideas, and, you know, it's like a mob thing.
They call me Dankster on lock.
Don't be a hoe. Share the show. Yeah.